Welcome back to Lost Odyssey. So, alright. With that done, we have one more dream to check out.
Whose dream will it be?
Well, obviously Kaim, since right now we're playing as
him.
Well, I mean, granted, I don't know. For all I know, Seth could get a dream of her own out of nowhere.
Well, she did earlier, but anyway.
Well, that's why I say it could be either his or hers for all I know.
Oh, but I'm glad you're not going to war. I'll be all by myself without you.
Oh.
Does this remind you of something, Kaim?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Locked deep within his heart, eh?
Again.
Alright, let's go. There is no way to keep the village from becoming a battlefield.
Whoa, we started.
The enemy forces have crossed the northern pass and made their camp close by. The home forces are here too, sending one unit after another into the village to resist the enemy's attack. The place is a powder keg.
Yeah, I love that, you just ease into the situation and BAM! War!
Cold opening.
Rimmed mountains where two highways intersect. The village is a crucial focal point for transport. It cannot be allowed to fall into enemy hands, while its capture is essential to any hopes that the enemy might have for victory in the war. Long years of fighting have come down to this one major battle. It is a battle that must be waged. The logic is clear, simple, inevitable, and it will transform this tranquil village into a battlefield at any moment.
So, does anyone add a Blind Guardian playlist? Might as well.
The army has ordered the villagers to evacuate. Non-combatants can only get in the way.
You're in my way, sir.
The enemy wants to settle this before the weather turns cold. Tail, go ahead.
So what does that mean? Another month? 2 weeks?
Got your stuff back? No sense getting caught in the middle and killed. Talk about dying for nothing. Lips, go ahead.
Better forget about taking any pots and
pads with you.
Yes.
Pack as well as you can and get as far away as you can.
Sure. Go ahead, Jova. You can be this guy.
Think of all the generations our ancestors guarded our houses and land. I hate to think it's going to turn into a wasteland when the fighting starts.
There's nothing we can do about it. It's just plain bad luck, that's all, Tail.
We just have to hang in there till the war is over and come back when we find out who won.
Game over, man. Game over. Go ahead, Liz.
The main thing is to get out now.
Right. That's
all we can do.
Sure. We've got to stay alive. Better not hope for anything more than that. So yeah, the villagers leave a few at a time, beginning with the first ones to find temporary shelter. By the time the forest is lightly tinged with red, the village is practically deserted. The only ones left are old folks who live alone and have no one and no place to run to. The army has built a crude refugee camp for any evacuees able to cross several mountains to reach it. The aged poor stagger with little more than the clothes on their back. The only one left in the village is Grandma Coto. So this story is called The Bread of Grandma Coto. As a mercenary, Kaim first met old Coto shortly after he joined the unit protecting the village. He was on an inspection run at the time when he spotted an old woman working in the fields. She turned out to be Grandma Coto.
That was quite a prologue for the story.
It was to give context to why she's here. A soldier with him yelled at her, "Hey, old lady, enough of that!" Another man shouted, Jova.
You better get out of here now if you want to stay alive. The fight's going to start in 2 or 3 days. How many times do we have to tell you to go to the damn refugee camp?
But old Coto stayed hunched over, digging in the dirt. Obviously she was not harvesting anything. If this had been a time when the grain had ripened when she was hurrying to harvest her crops, it might have made sense. But she was just turning the soil as if she had forgotten that a battle was about to start here at any moment. Oh, so she's doing the same thing that Pa in Beyond Two Souls is doing, where he just picks up the hay, drops it. Picks up the hay, drops it.
Is it going to be like that old woman in Chernobyl that just refused to leave?
Well, let's see this. Go ahead, Joe, you can be this guy. That's up.
Is the old bag deaf or just senile?
With a disgusted look, the captain called over to Kaim. Go ahead.
Hey, new guy, do something about this one. Drag her to the refugee camp if you have to tie a rope around her neck. Can't have her wandering around out here. She's just going to get in the way when the fighting starts.
The captain's tone was arrogant. The more cowardly a commanding officer is, the more arrogant and overbearing his style of leading is. Kaim strode silently toward the old woman in the field. Go ahead, Joe.
We'll go on ahead.
The captain called out behind him, but he did not turn around. Only a few days would be needed to decide the outcome of the battle for the village, which was a reflection of how violent it promised to be. For this reason, working the field now was pointless. Even the most carefully cultivated patch of ground would be crushed by the soldiers' boots. A harvest next year was out of the question, nor was it even clear how many years it would take to restore the village to its former tranquility.
If any.
When Kaim approached her in the field, the old woman kept working and said, "Don't try to stop me!" She looked and sounded much tougher than she had seen from a distance. She might have been one of those stubborn, cranky old folks that people kept their distance from when the village was at peace.
You're not going to evacuate?
Kaim asked. "What the hell for?" She spat out.
They built a camp you can go to.
Fucking camps.
Get your meds, Grandma.
Actually, too? Yes. Old Coto gave a snort and said to Kaim, "You're a new one. I never seen you before."
Yes.
"So you don't even know what the camp's like. You soldiers have nothing to worry about."
What do you mean?
Old Coto said nothing but pointed toward the steep mountain standing like a painted screen on the west side of the village, as you can see right there on the screen of the game right now. Kaim asked.
Is that where the camp is?
"Hell no, you have to cross that mountain and another one to get to it. Nobody my age can walk that far. What's the point of building a camp in a place like that? How many old folks do they think they're going to make it over there? They might as well leave us out in the hills to die like in the old days." Kaim was at a loss for an answer. Continuing her digging, the old woman grumbled, "That's how the government does everything. Fucking politicians."
They're so corrupt.
She was clearly angry, perhaps less angry than I fucking hate all those politicians. They're so corrupt. They killed my son.
Is she one of those grandma who thinks that the government is putting metal in our food to microchip us?
You're an inspection tour, right? Well, don't let me stop you.
No, you see...
You're not going to get me to go to any damn refugee camp. That's all there is to it. I'm not going anywhere. This is the village I was born in, and I've lived all my life.
I know you feel, but this place is going to turn into a battlefield soon.
I know that.
So then...
So what?
Choose life?
Oh.
Kaim was at a loss for words again. When she saw that, she smiled and said, "You're a sweet young man, kind of unusual in a soldier." Her expression had softened for the first time. When she stopped being so prickly, the smile she produced was actually rather endearing. "When this place turns into a battlefield, people will die. Lots of them. I know that much, don't worry. But I have work to do, soldier boy. Telling me to leave my work and run away is like telling me to die. So if I'm going to die anyway, and it won't be long now, I want you to let me do what I want to do. You shouldn't have a problem with that." Kaim fell silent, not because he was at a loss for words yet again, but because he believed she was right. "If I'm going to die anyway," she had said. Knowing that she would never be able to speak such words, he had no choice but to bow silently to her will. "Alright then, run along there, Sonny. I got work to do."
What are you doing now?
"See for yourself."
Sorry, but I don't know much about farm work. I need to see more slow-mo about it.
like all the other soldiers, old Coto said with a smile, "the only thing you people ever think about is killing enemies. You don't know anything about nurturing life." She let a hint of sorrow show again. Perhaps somewhat taken with Kaim, however, she favored him with an explanation. "I'm planting seeds," she said. Grains of wheat. There you go. You sow them in the fall. They mature over winter, shoot up under the spring sun, and turn the fields golden in summer. That is beautiful imagery, actually. Yeah, I agree. Moving on. I always do my planting when the northern mountain peaks turn white, every year, and this year is not going to be any different. Would the seeds mature in the trampled fields? Kaim had his doubts. Grandma Coto, however, displayed not the least anxiety or resignation as she scattered seeds in the newly turned soil. Her hands performed the age-old ritual with ease and naturalness, as if to impress upon Kaim the fact that she was doing this year was nothing more nor less than what she had done every year before. So there you go, this is, and then a bunch of space Nazis came in and took all our wheat away.
That being said, the way it's described, it is kind of the equivalent of visualizing, the imagery. Not necessarily in slow motion, but it's kind of doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, there you go.
The difference is that with much better writing. Okay, as a result, Kaim's next words emerged with a smoothness that he himself found somewhat surprising.
What if the seeds don't grow?
Then I'll just do it again next year. If next year's bad, then I'll do it again the year after that. You have to plant the seeds. That's how I've lived my life. If you don't plant, nothing will grow. See what I mean?
I think so.
Whether there's a fight or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I have to do. That's all. She spoke with certainty, her wrinkled face softening into a smile as she added, "You can't even enjoy a meal if you know you haven't done things right." She's literally completely stuck in her ways. She doesn't know how to do anything else. She's so used to this routine that she literally cannot live without it. You're saying that this is what gives
Yeah,
sorry.
Me.
Yeah, go,
You're
sorry.
saying that is what gives your life its meaning?
This was the question to which Kaim had long searched for an answer. For what purpose had he been born into this world? What was he supposed to accomplish here? He had continued to roam through this life's endless journey without knowing the answers to these questions. Indeed, because he didn't know the answers.
Yeah, I think the end. Sorry, I'll mention later.
I don't know about deep stuff like that, Grandma Coto said shyly. I just mailed the wheat I've harvested and bake bread in the fall. That bread is really special. Nothing tastes as good as the first bread you make with the wheat you grew that year. That's what my grandson looks forward to every year. I just can't decide to take a year off now, can I?
I see what you mean.
No, you don't, she declared. You're nothing but a damn soldier. Her face had turned hard again. There were no more smiles from her that day.
Damn.
Jeez.
Have you actually gone into the farm and do this shit with your hands, sonny? When Kaim returned to the barracks, a soldier who had been stationed in the village for 6 months or more said to him, "Go ahead, Joey."
That old bag hates her guts.
Because we ruined the village?
That's part of it, I suppose, but it's got deeper roots than that for her.
Grandma Coto had lost her entire family to war. First, her husband died in the war 40 years earlier, then her son and his wife in the war 20 years earlier, and now the one grandson they had left was taken to fight in the current war.
What's his unit?
Kaim asked the soldier. The man gave a helpless shrug and named the unit that had been sent to an area with the most intense fighting. Java, go ahead.
Talk about bad luck. The fighting's so bad out there, if it was me, I'd take my chances on being executed for deserting under fire. He's got maybe a 50-50 chance of coming back alive. No, maybe 30-70.
If her grandson were to be killed, Grandma Coto would be all alone in the world. She would have no one to feed her bread to. Okay,
Must be tough to be left alone at that age.
the soldier said.
Can I?
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, it's
Nah,
you,
I
Joe.
think that it's
Go ahead, Jova. Go ahead.
There we go. Looking at old Coto, I can't help but think of my own mother back home. There's no way I can let myself get killed. She'd never stop crying. Same for you too, eh, Kaim?
Kaim said nothing in reply. He had no right to say anything, basically. The battle started 3 days later. The enemy army's attack was even fiercer than expected. The defense forces had no choice but to put everything they had into the fight. Kaim slipped away from the battlefront and headed for Grandma Coto's house. Probably in a desperate attempt to try to get her out of there. But based on what we've seen so far, we know where this is going. He found her leaving for the field, as always. She gave no sign that she was afraid of the fighting. People who know exactly what they must do, and who refuse to be distracted by anything else, can be strong beyond all reason. Kaim saw now that there could be far greater strength in a finite life than one that had lasted forever. Because he sensed this so deeply, he stood before her, blocking her way. He lifted the tiny old woman in his arms and carried her bodily back to the house. What are you doing? Let go of me! I'm not going to follow some soldier's orders. I have work to do.
Yes, I know that.
Kaim said. So put me down now!
I don't want to let you die.
I'm gonna die anyway. We've gone through this.
Take your meds, Grandma.
You still have something to live for with your grandson.
Holding her against his chest, he looked her in the eye and pleaded with her.
I will.
Yeah, you.
Oh, I think. Oh, wanted to bake bread next autumn again for a new crop of wheat.
She stopped filling her arms and legs in a vain attempt to get free of his grip. She looked straight back at him as he said, "Go on to."
As long as you have someone to feed your freshly baked bread to, I want you to keep baking bread year after year.
Old Coto heaved a huge sigh and muttered, smiling, "I knew you were a very strange soldier. A soldier with compassion? Psh,
Bollocks.
bollocks."
Imagine.
The battle raged on for several days. The arrogant, cowardly captain died in the fighting. Well, sucks to be you, dude. The soldier who had told Kaim the story of Grandma Coto had also died. Countless defense troops died, and countless enemy troops died. The village was consumed in the flames of war, and old Koto's field was ravaged under the heels of the military. Kaim's side managed to stave off the attackers, then followed the retreating enemy to the north. All that remained in their wake was the empty, devastated village.
Which will no doubt become haunted.
The war ended as spring was giving way to summer. At the cost of massive casualties, the army repulsed the enemy's invasion. The village began to recover little by little. As Grandma Coto predicted, not one old person who crossed the mountains to the refugee camp came back alive.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
Why
Wait.
troll that?
See, I told I told you. See, who was right? Who was right? Huh? Autumn and Kaim had come back to the village. He feels warm in the chest when he looks across the fields and spots old Coto sowing wheat. So she's doing it again this year, and next year, and the year after that, for as long as she is alive.
And the next year.
She notices Kaim and crosses toward him with a welcoming smile. A year has passed. She seems to have shrunk somewhat with a year's worth of aging. Yep.
I think Jova just misread the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen you for a while, she says. So they didn't kill you.
And I'm glad to see you looking well too.
I heard you stayed near my house during the fight. You single-handedly fought to keep enemy troops away from it. Kaim gives her a shy smile.
How was your wheat?
He asks. All ruined, of course. Worst crop I've ever had. A few scrawny stalks. Barely enough for one loaf.
Damn.
She tells him all this with surprising ease. Then she fixes her eye on him and asks, "Have some?"
What?
Bread, of course. I'll bake a loaf now if you'll help me eat it.
Well, sure, but
Grandma Coto sees through Kaim's hesitancy and says with a calm smile, "Yes, he's dead, my grandson. I got word at the end of the summer. I was waiting and hoping, planning to bake him a loaf of bread as soon as he got home." When she sees Kaim hanging his head in silence, she adopts a spirited tone as if she has to be the one to cheer him up. "Come on then, you eat what you would have had. It'd probably be tougher than usual, what with the wheat harvest being so bad, but I'm sure my grandson would be happy to know I fed my bread to the man who saved my life." So this old woman has lost her entire family to war. In other words, there is no one left to enjoy her bread. Well, except Kaim.
But is there? Because now I guess Kaim can be her.
and she's one of those grandmas that like, come on, eat more, and it just fills your plate.
Still,
more.
she urges Kaim
Yes.
to wait just a minute while I finish this up, sowing the wheat for next year's harvest. She does it because this is what she has always done, because it is what she is supposed to do. Kaim stops himself from speaking the words,
Let me help.
and he stands staring at old Koto's bent back. In the glow of the setting autumn sun, she is sadly small and sadly beautiful. Kaim eats the fresh baked bread. Old Coto was right. Made from wheat grown without its full measure of care, the bread is hard and dry, and poor in taste. Still,
But it's the thought that counts.
of all the bread Kaim has eaten, and will go on to eat in his long, long life, this is by far the most delicious.
The secret ingredient, of course, is love.
The end.
Aw.
That's actually very sweet. Although, I do believe that one of the metaphors is that when Coto says to him about keep planting despite the war and everything, I do interpret this as, Kaim deciding to start families despite what happens to him.
That would be
Logical.
interesting. Okay, one thing that's not quite clear is, the complete order of events.
Yeah,
Like,
but the
if
leave that
Kaim-
is scattered. We don't know if it's happened, a long time ago, unless it's specifically mentioned in big terms.
Like, one thing we don't know for certain is how many of these memories happened before or after Kaim settled down and had a family of his own.
And keep in mind, he had a bunch of them, so...
Yeah.
Again, that was usually my interpretation, but the game doesn't tell you.
Okay,
Also,
Now-
I get the
Yes.
feeling. Sorry.
yes, Sakaguchi, I remember the Shinra mention.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do too. I get the feeling they keep the timeline of the dreams intentionally vague. So that it feels like less like to make
I
sure
will-
there's no. So go on.
One thing that I am sure on is that him being a father could not have been too long ago unless his daughter had, slowed down
Remember,
aging.
Jova, this daughter, but remember, showcasing in other stories, Kaim has had multiple
Yeah.
families over the centuries.
Liram was his final daughter before this game started. He had plenty of families before that, as we saw in the dreams.
Well, yeah. But the family I'm referring to is the one we saw in the dream, since, that's
Sure.
apparently the big turning point of his life. And I assume that can't have been too long ago because the daughter was still mortal. Unless, due to her biology, is
No, like we already told you, Jova, despite everything, the immortals' offsprings are not, do not inherit that.
No.
And there's a specific reason for it.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, I think it's implied that they're immortal due to a spell or something, so...
We'll get a proper explanation before the game ends. Yes, we're going full Scooby-Doo with this.
Did you? Sorry.
Did
go
you
ahead.
see?
Sorry.
Did you just see that?
My bad.
Complete with a flash of
It's not-
lightning and everything.
It's Naminé. She's looking out the window.
Sure, let's go with that.
And there's just a magical chest, which I'm sure isn't a mimic trying to eat you.
Surprisingly, there are
Surprisingly.
there are no mimics in this game.
That's the thing, Jova. Mimics are more common in Dragon Quest than in Final Fantasy. They are still present, but more rarely than you would think.
Watch Freerun guest star in the next Final Fantasy game, and then suddenly every chest she opens will be a mimic.
Obviously, yeah.
She enjoys it too much. Oh Jesus. Fun fact: the classic imagery of the mimic, being the chest monster with the teeth and the eyes, as in the monster is inside that eats you, that actually premiered more in Dragon Quest because the classic one that was slightly different. It was just basically usually just a monster with a different complete format. The one that they call
Hold on,
the
Tail.
effect.
Thus all that lives does flow. Thus do they fade away.
Oh, I'm sorry, we seem to be have stumbled onto Ultimatia's castle.
They look like pieces of a bone.
So I guess the sorceress who took up residency in Kaim's old house didn't think to, dust
Jesus,
the place.
Jensen.
That was literally like the Final Fantasy VII All About Random Battles Newgrounds parody. Just one step.
I have to wonder, did the sorceress specifically want things to be creepy?
Well, of course. I mean, what's the point of being an evil sorceress if you don't have a creepy mansion to scare your enemies that are coming?
Also, Jova, it's kind of like how in the Shinra mansion you find the notes from Hojo, to open the Vincent's, the safe for Vincent's place, and they're mostly condescending. It's kind of like with the same thing, just in a different tone.
Or like in Rebirth, in Rebirth he put a shit ton of holograms just to mock the intruders.
That's mostly because the basement is more technological, which I guess it kind of makes sense. It's still supposed to be property of Shinra, so it would have been weird if it was just an old ass villa with nothing in it.
So this used to be a humble home for Kaim, but of course, due to it being left to lay in ruin, yeah, it's a haunted house now.
Yes.
Also, I was led to believe that the sorceress was a good witch, not a bad witch.
Well,
Sorry, Drova.
I guess we'll have to find her and figure that out for ourselves. All right, Annihilation. This is the now. Let's see if this spell looks familiar to you guys.
Meteor.
Meteor.
It's goddamn meteor.
There you go.
So Ming was Sephiroth.
And it missed.
Right,
How did it miss?
How did it miss?
someone at Square Enix's legal department had a little shudder at it.
It's also weird because the animation that's before Meteor, it's more close to the Magnus Sisters Delta attack in Final Fantasy X.
I get stats and all, but the fact that move can miss like that, that's jive.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, when the meteor move in Final Fantasy IX misses, it makes more sense because it's a smaller meteor. You can just argue, oh, it just fell on the side. That meteor, that's a Final Fantasy VII level meteor. That thing is like gigantic, and the way it's animated, the fact that it can miss does make things unintentionally funny.
I wanted to ask actually. We may have gone over it before, but refresher. How well is it to work the stats in your favor to try and get it so that things always hit?
Well, there's no real way to make sure things always hit. I don't think there's...
Usually percentage accuracy towards spell is something that cannot be manipulated.
In Pokemon, there are moves that have 100% accuracy, but that's probably the only RPG that has that. I cannot think of any other RPG where there's moves that always hit regardless of any kind of random chance. There's always at the very least some kind of probability of failing. Anyway, looks like that gem was part of this mirror.
Let's try putting it back.
Sure.
Okay, so that's the gimmick of this dungeon. Mirrors that transport you to different places. So place large mirror jewel.
Ah! Up there! What's that light?
No, don't walk towards the light. Go ahead, Liz.
This mirror looks kind of different from before somehow.
Jova.
You're right. I feel magic power beyond the mirror. It's as if there's another world inside of it. The other side of the mirror. Hey, should we try going in? Sounds exciting.
Sure. It's not like this could...
Just casually entering, not even testing if it works.
So what if it leads us to hell? We'll be fine.
It's like that rock door thing in King's Quest 2. They end up in Police Quest or something.
Yeah.
Also, I look Seth was walking on place for a second.
Well, this is nicer than I expected.
So yeah,
It seems more well kept here.
Yep.
It looks like the same room as before, but it almost seems like someone was living here until just a moment ago. Have we gone through time?
Go ahead.
It's as if the clock's been turned back for this room alone. I wonder if this is some kind of past world, created within the mind of the sorceress.
Which means that we stumbled onto it when we went through the mirror. What is it?
Silent Hill.
The mirror! The light from the mirror is gone!
Well, shit.
Well, great, we're stuck in the past.
God, are you serious? So that means we can go back?
Well, maybe you should have investigated before going through it willy-nilly.
Now what are we gonna do?
Just
Use your head.
Just wait till you catch up to whenever you went forward.
Calm down, you guys. Especially you, Jansen. The sorceress shows up at the village every once in a while, doesn't she? So there must be some way back to the regular world. Surely we can find it somewhere in this mansion.
Is it going to be like in Red Dwarf where everything now suddenly is going backwards?
We came to this mansion just wanting a friendly visit, but we're on a haunted house venture. Can anything go right for our party?
I guess not. Well, and Jensen's like, well, there's only one thing we can say here. Oh no.
Whoever's playing that creepy piano, please tone it down. We're trying to sing.
Also, creepy ghost girl, can you please stop doing that?
There it is again. It went into the mirror.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy. Try tell Nobu to stop playing his piano.
We have heard this track already in some of the dreams.
Yeah.
Again, Uematsu is kind of very versatile for this game. In a couple of these, these compositions like this one are reminiscent of a Final Fantasy IX, for example.
Another corridor? Sheesh. Here's me getting all worked up over nothing.
I'm guessing all the music that shows up in the dreams is music that's
it's recycled from the game.
Repurposed from the game itself, yeah.
We've probably gone to the other side. The windows and doors are on the opposite side from before.
Wait,
It's like
the
a mirror version.
the other side? Oh god, we're dead.
It's been well maintained. The mansion couldn't be very old in this world.
Maybe we can try going outside.
The soundtrack of this game is actually noticeably short for a JRPG because it's only 2 discs. Okay, well, typically soundtracks will be 3 to 4 discs, but this soundtrack is only 2 CDs in its entirety.
The mirror. Some kind of strange lights coming out from the top.
So this mirror has been the way back to the regular world all this time, and it's sitting right at the opposite side of that first mirror.
It's like a puzzle.
This reminds you of a puzzle.
Alright, let's do it.
Go for it before someone blows up the mirror.
There you
7 years
go.
of bad luck and everything.
And this allows us to unlock this door, because if you try to go into this door from the other side, you can't open it, but from this one you can. There you go. Now you can more easily travel through the present time of this mansion. There you go.
It'll be interesting if once we finally get things cleared up, this mansion can go back to looking more like its good old glory days.
Alright, everybody, we figured out the mirror puzzle, but there's more puzzles ahead, so let's take a look at that in the next part.
Yeah.
See you then.
See ya.